Good afternoon and happy Mother's Day. I am so excited to be with two of my absolute favorite women. We've been together a long time. A long time. They're not just any women. These are amazing moms. They're amazing wives. They're both like leading women in ministry as well as outside in the everyday world. Honestly, they have like amazing stories, and I'm gonna let them share and introduce themselves a little bit, and then we're going to ask like some awesome questions and just like really dig into like their wisdom and different things that they have to share with us this morning or this afternoon. I feel like it's all running together.
Yeah.
So Tiff, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Well, you want me to introduce myself?
I do.
I am Tiffany Dooley. I have been married to my awesome husband, Andy, for 10 years. It's crazy.
Perfect.
We have almost 4 kids. I'm pregnant. I don't know if you can see this little bundle. I'm actually due next week.
I know, it's crazy. So if we have to stop, then it,
you know why I've left. Okay. But yeah, so I've done ministry for different churches. Enjoy teaching people the Bible, preaching, teaching. Like I said, we have 3 kids. About to have our 4th, and yeah, I love being a wife and a mom and everything else that I get to do.
No, honestly, and I'm going to share a little bit more about Tiff because I don't feel like Tiff or Elizabeth will actually say all of the amazing things that they do, but they are probably some of my favorite and bestest. We're like family, friends that are like family.
Sure.
Now, I was going to do a whole collage of all the pictures of us together.
Oh, Lord.
Which one I wanted to show because they have amazing skin. I mean, look at the color of their skin. Now, there's one picture that I was the same color as they are.
Wait,
not today.
what?
I don't remember when we went on the hike down in Cowlitz County.
Okay.
I looked at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have beautiful glowing skin. I don't know where it went, but they get this beautiful glowing skin naturally. But I didn't put the collage together because I figured, with women, you gotta all get together and be like, I like that one, I don't like that one, and I just spilled my water. No worries. But Elizabeth, if you'd like to share a few things about yourself and your family while I pick up my water.
Sure. I am Elizabeth, so I've been married to also my best friend for 10 years. Kind of fun story, me and Tiffany and our husbands got married 3 weeks apart from each other.
Right.
So we kind of get to celebrate all of our anniversaries each year. We just know they're really close to each other. So same year, 10 years ago. And we have 4 kids as well. We have 3 boys and a girl, she's our youngest, and she is 3 months. And before being a mom, I was a teacher, and then kind of transitioned after having my first baby into doing tutoring and writing, and in ministry, that's kind of transitioned a lot over time from youth ministry to, honestly, my children are my biggest ministry right now. They take up pretty much most of my time. And gosh, what do I do for fun? I don't know. Hang out with my kids on walks.
I feel like that's what all moms do for fun, especially at your guys' kids' age. It's like hanging out with them, creating fun spaces and time for each of them, which I absolutely love. And honestly, these are like my extended grandkids. I love, and now that we're all close together again, once quarantine is over, it's going to be like a huge party. But I love when little Deuce was on the other day, and he was blowing me kisses. I'm like, oh, so cute. But Fatu and Andy, so Fatu is Elizabeth's husband, and Andy, which he was on last week with Pastor Jared, is Tiff's husband, and we have known each other for such a great, and we are like family. We've grown up together. I mean, Elizabeth and Tiff and Fatu helped raise our kids. Fatu instilled all of the wonderful, manly things, and they kept our boys in line, which was great. When mom and dad were away, we knew that we could count on them. But we have so many great stories, and hopefully we'll get a chance to share some of those. But a few questions, and then if you guys have questions about women in ministry, women in leadership, because that's huge now, and I feel like these past few years we have more of a voice as women and are looked at in a different way than we were before. Maybe we can share some wisdom, or if you guys have questions on that, maybe how to navigate certain situations and different things like that. But also want to talk about parenting and family and faith, because you guys are huge in that. You guys have amazing families. Your faith is so strong, and honestly, it's beautiful to watch as you raise your kids and as you love your husbands and all the things that you do, because you guys are, you have so much influence in lives, not just young women, but also men and young families. You know, so many people look to you as you guys do different things. I know you guys did some relationship stuff, and you do stuff with Shalita online, and Elizabeth, you're still teaching and you're writing and you're doing so many things that maybe people don't know and don't see. But I think there's so much to glean from both of you and if you guys have any questions in regards to any of those things, please type them in, and we'll answer some of those questions as much as we can. So if there was one nugget of wisdom that you could give to moms on Mother's Day, what would that be?
Elizabeth?
I'm going first. On Mother's Day. Oh, that's like heightens it. It's like one night of wisdom on Mother's Day. Gosh. Okay, I'll try and go first. I'll see you call me out. I think one nugget of wisdom. For me, I would say this is hard to tell yourself, but to remind yourself that you are the best mom for your kids. I think sometimes there's so many ways to parent, so many ways to raise kids, and I think sometimes we get lost in like, we should do it this way or that way, or this way or that way. And it can feel overwhelming, like, am I doing this right, or am I even a good mother? And yes, there we go. So sorry.
It's okay. This is perfect.
I was good on So I would say to remind yourself that you are just the mom that God had prepared for your specific kids. And it's easy to look at other kids and be like, oh, why do they act, maybe they don't come in the room when you're on phone calls, or maybe they don't have tantrums like your kids, or whatever the comparison can be. But reminding yourself that you're exactly what they need. And I think that's one of the hardest things with being a mom, is that there's just so much room for opportunity to compare yourself and feel like you're not doing enough or you're not good enough. So I would just say for a piece of encouragement is that God knew exactly who you are and who your kids are and who they will be, and that you are the right person for the job.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna say yes to all of that.
Amen.
I would also say, I think one thing I'm working on is enjoying the moments with my kids. And I think because, watching my oldest is only 7, so it's not like, I've been a mom for a super long time, but I feel like, I can get so in the mode of, moms just do so much for their family that you can, you're around your kids all the time, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're engaging in the moment and having fun and taking those times, those breaks from, all the things that you're doing for them, to remember to do things with them. And I think that that's something that I want to be able to transition into other seasons, knowing that, like, man, we had such a great time when they were that age, when they were doing this, and I would like to limit as much as I can that feeling of, when the season changes, like, oh, I wish I would have, spent more time having fun or taking breaks from all the other activities I was doing for them and just enjoy being with them. So I would say, along with knowing like what Elizabeth was saying, you are the best person to raise these kids because God gave them to you. Is make sure that in the process of doing all for them, that you remember to be with them and enjoy the time that you have with them because it is short. I mean, I'm sure you could tell us that, with your kids are grown, so how quickly.
Yeah, because Anthony's 30 and he goes 28.
Oh my gosh, what?
I know, and our grandkids are 5 and 3. Calvin's going to be 6 this fall, and it goes so fast. Well, and I love what you guys are saying. I think for me, back way back in the day when I was raising the boys, I wanted the best for them, and so I think my expectation for what they needed during the time is where my expectation was, where I thought I needed to be as a parent, not where they needed to be as so my standards were so high, I felt like I missed out on something. So with my grandkids, I've cooled out a ton. I'm like, oh, that's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. It's going to be totally fine. And sometimes, like I remember when Calvin was little, Anthony and Jill, my daughter-in-law, came home. We were watching Calvin for the weekend, and they came home, and all of the toys were all over the living room. And that was not, I'm not about having messes anywhere. And Anthony came home and he's like, what? What is going on? Are you kidding me? This was never allowed to happen. And we never let our kids take their toys out of their room. And they had to put things back right away. But it's like, Jared's like, oh, let the boy play. He's having fun. And I'm like, I've changed a lot. But allowing things to be okay in the moment and not, maybe for my lack of childhood, I put different expectations on my kids because I thought what I needed, that they needed, and that's not. So I love what you guys are saying and seeing, you guys, parent and love your kids. Honestly, I mean, the one thing I love about Elizabeth is she is probably the most kind-hearted, beautiful person in the entire world. I mean, everything she says, I don't think I've ever seen her mad. Well, maybe with the two. Maybe with the two. But like,
definitely with the two.
But so much life-giving words. Like even how she was, talking, and when he came in the room, me, I'd have been like, you see these eyes? What did Mom say? And Elizabeth's like, oh, it's okay, honey, Mom, just go ahead.
Right. So true.
But and then you also, Tiff, like you're just you see like such treasure, both of you guys, in your kids, and you guys really fan that flame, and I love it. And you guys are such amazing leaders, and I feel like you're also leading with your kids, not just, sometimes we can enable them, sometimes we can smother them or hover over them, but you guys are really leading them and letting them make mistakes. That's where probably my biggest failure was, is not letting my kids make mistakes that they needed to, where they had to make mistakes later in life.
Oh, yeah.
So.
That's amazing to be able to even look back and see that and to share that with us, that's important to do. That's awesome.
Yeah. Pastor Jared, do we have any questions so far?
No questions.
Okay. So what is your favorite scripture? Because I know you both like talking about faith, and that's such a huge part of your life. Like, what is I have a lot of scriptures, and I feel like, being around Pastor Drew, we were raised in the city church, every scripture was a favorite.
Exactly.
And I tend to say the same thing. But if there was one scripture that really, has motivated you and spurred you on during this season of your life, what would that be?
For me, my probably all-time favorite scripture is Ephesians 2:10, where it says that we are God's masterpiece. Different translations say it's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. And I think for me, the reason why I love that scripture is it's just a reminder. It's so full of identity, and that out of all of creation, human beings are God's masterpiece. His final part of creation, and I think that it also speaks to our worth, our value, our significance. That no matter what I have or don't have, or possess or don't possess, like I have value because I'm God's masterpiece. And then also that he has a future and a plan for me, you know, good works prepared beforehand, before I was even here, that he wants me to walk in. So I just like the reminder, you know, the constant reminder of who I am, why I'm here, and that also the reminder that I need to have a relationship with God to even know that value and know what those good works are. You know, it's not just like, oh, I'm just going to try to do good in this world. But it's like if God prepared good things for me to do while I'm here, I want to seek him out and find out what those things are. So that would be why it's one of my favorites.
Which is great, because I feel like every time that you speak, you're talking to someone, you're preaching, that's what comes out. And it's beautiful. You can tell like what you're building your life on. I love that. Elizabeth?
I would say, okay, this is actually for Tuesday verse, but I feel like he said it so many times, it's like adopted into like ours together. Is Galatians 6:9. So let us not grow weary in doing good, for in due time we will reap a harvest. And I think maybe even more so during motherhood, it feels like I need that reminder. Like I feel like seasons change a lot. I mean, even just with the age of your kids, where you're like, when you have a little kid, it's like we're in this, like, I feel like I'm kind of getting out of the first 3 months of my baby, where you're like inside the house. I mean, we're all inside now, but you know, normally moms are like really at home, or just, it's a different season for the first couple months. And then there's a new season after that, and a new season after that. And I feel like having kids has made me realize how much I need the reminder that don't give up sometimes. I mean, I know that sounds so basic, but just continue to do the good work that you know that you are called to do, whatever that looks like in your life. And even seasons, I mean, even as a mom, even through church, you can feel sometimes like there's lots of transition as far as like what your life looks like, especially if you're in ministry and then you have children and that changes, or not that you're maybe not in ministry anymore, but they might just look different. I kind of joke with people, with my kids, because they're all pretty young. And like, I feel like I spend, when we used to be in a church building, like 90% of my time with love, just wanting or chasing people who were being crazy. And I have to remind myself that God has still called me to do good works and to do his will. Even in seasons that look like that, or look different than I expect them to. So I love that verse. Yeah, it just encourages me to keep going when things get rough or tough, or even in this season with our whole society right now. Like, God still has a plan, and I can still continue on that path that he has for me, even when everything else might feel like it's kind of falling apart and caving in. That sounds kind of morbid. But I mean, just when there's so many unexpected things or unknowns, and what does the next week look like, or month we're going to look like in our life, it's like, okay, I can focus on that and I will probably cry. Or I can focus on the fact that God has a plan and I can still continue to do his will in the meantime. And those other things, you know, I pray that they will resolve those things that are out of my control.
No, that's really good. Yeah, I feel like it is such a good reminder. And I love when people share, you know, their scriptures that mean a lot to them, because we can learn and grow from someone else. Because when something becomes a part of who you are and a foundation stone, it really resonates and you understand that person a little bit better, but then you also learn and glean from them. Like one of mine, and it's in Luke 7, and I can't remember exactly which verse it is because it's tattooed on my back, but I can't look back there right now. It's forgiven much, loves much. And for me, it's a good reminder, because we make tons of mistakes our whole life. You know, not intentionally, maybe intentionally in the beginning, but I don't make mistakes intentionally, but I have to learn to forgive myself when I felt like I've hurt or caused pain in someone else's life. And I don't intentionally do that. We say things, we do things, and we don't mean to, whether it's our kids, you know, our spouses, you know, those are the closest to us, kind of see the rawness of who we are. And just learning to forgive myself for maybe having a bad attitude or being short or doing those things. And I remember when Anthony and Nico got older, I apologized for, you know, things that I said or how I, you know, how I acted in certain things. I'm like, I should have never, you know, I should have never been like that, and I apologize. They're like, Mom, that's no big deal. Well, it was a big deal to me, and, you know, and maybe in their eyes it wasn't a big deal, but if God, you know, is putting something on your heart, then we can ask forgiveness to someone else, but honestly, sometimes the biggest thing we have to do is also forgive ourselves. You know, I'm forgiven by God, and I'm loved much. I need to forgive myself. I need to love myself, and that's going to enable me to then love and forgive others and do what Jesus, you know, has done in my life. So that's one of my favorite scriptures.
That's awesome. I've had to ask forgiveness from my kids, even now, you know, which is so funny asking like a 5-year-old, will you forgive me? But I feel like that models so much for them that they do it to each other, you know, they do it to me when they've done something wrong. They ask for my forgiveness, and I think there's something so powerful in humbling yourself.
Yeah.
You do feel like as the parent, like, I don't need to, you know, like, you were doing wrong. You know what I mean?
Exactly. No,
And
so true.
So it doesn't matter if I got a little too angry, you know what I mean?
You deserved it.
Yeah, exactly. But learning to, like, really humble myself, to ask forgiveness, you know, even for my kids, you know, that it wasn't okay how I got, you know, upset at you, or even asking in front of the kids, asking Annie for forgiveness, you know, and modeling that for them, because I really feel like so much of parenting is the training part is a lot comes through the modeling. For them, and I want them to not just hear our words, but see an example, it put into practice, like these are our values, and try to instill those in them even at a young age. So, yeah, we try to do that even now.
Well, I think if we can do that as parents, as we're raising up this next generation, because they see authority through how we are. And I feel like, you know, there's been a bad taste in some people's mouth, because if you're in authority, whether you're a parent or a boss, or I'm even in or even like in a ministry, you know, leadership position, we don't say we're sorry enough, and people don't learn. I'm not perfect. You know, I don't want to pretend to be perfect. I make mistakes all the time, and if we can teach our kids that at a young age, then they're going to get a different perspective of leadership, because nobody's perfect, you know, and I think it would be a breath of fresh air for this next upcoming generation for someone to say, you know what, I'm sorry, I screwed up, or I shouldn't have said that, or my attitude was wrong, you know, maybe your actions were wrong, but mine were too, you know, and really taking ownership of me and letting them see that. I think it's so healthy.
Absolutely.
Let's see, what time is it? Ooh, it's only 12:55. My goodness. So what do you guys do for like me time? Because everybody needs to be refreshed. Everybody needs to, you know, get just a few. Sometimes it's seconds, sometimes it's minutes. Especially with, you know, each one of you guys having, you know, 4 and almost 4 on the way, and you guys are both going to be in that season of a brand new baby again, which takes up a lot of time. But I think it's important that we each have a time where we can refresh ourselves. So it's a 2-part question. So what do you do for me time? And then what do you guys do to set aside time for you and your husband?
So good. You want to go first?
Why not? For me time, I feel like it's changed, and I feel like it changes all the time, just with the age of the kids. Like, I'm sure if anyone knows, you know, the more the kids get independent, the more my me time gets more exciting. And, oh, I can actually go and do something. So I would say, I mean, before I had our baby, my me time was working out. I feel like working out, I would go and take a Zumba class. It was just a fun way to get out of the house. It would normally be, as soon as the two got home, I'd be like, okay, here we go, like we're switching hands. And it was just an hour, it wasn't long, but it was good music, and the dance moves were fun, they were actually really good, they weren't kind of cheesy, Zumba class. And even in the middle of a class, I'm like, wow, I forget how good this feels. Just to move your body, to like have something that's uplifting, and something that's by yourself, like you were saying, just me time. To be honest, I'm still trying to find me time right now. I know it's expected, just at the beginning season of a baby, you don't really get a whole lot of me time, which is why I'm here. You guys are there also. There's just a baby attached to me. So I'm still trying to figure that out for right now. But sometimes just going on a walk by myself, even if it's just around my neighborhood and it's not far. I think the last time I tried going, one of the kids started crying and thought I wasn't going to return. So I was like, okay, well, I guess we're just going to be in the neighborhood. But I think even that was good enough that it gives me some space for my brain to think. And for me, it always feels good to be outside. I like my me time to be outside. It just feels the most refreshing. Do you want me to answer the other question too?
Sure.
At the same time?
Yeah.
For time with me and for two, I think honestly our time for the last 7 years, our best time, has been just at nighttime when the kids go to bed. And it is like 90% of the time it's just good conversations, like downstairs while they're sleeping upstairs. It just has been the best way that we can work out, uninterrupted conversation. And for me, I'm like a quality time person, so that feeds my soul the best. Is just like sit down and talk to me and tell me anything, and I'll feel good. I think that's been probably our biggest strength together, has been that time.
Oh, that's awesome. And I love it that it's, because it's simple, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to,
Yeah.
I think sometimes in our brain it has to be some extravagant thing, but honestly, especially with younger kids, simplicity is make it as simple as possible, please.
Totally.
We were planning all day long for someone else. It's just nice to not plan some things.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, like Elizabeth said, it's definitely changed. I think before we were quarantine stay at home, the me time is just not necessarily happening right now, but well, basically when I take a shower, that's me time. It's like, do not come in here, like, leave me alone, and I think that before that, my husband will tell you, like, grocery shopping for me has been like my place of me time. I like to go to the store by myself, and Andy will call me. He's like, just checking on you. I know you're having your me time. Just making sure you're all right. I'm like, yep, I'm doing good. It's going down every aisle, And then we used to, as a family, work out at a gym that had childcare, and we were fortunate. Like, this gym was amazing. Sorry, it's time for Deuce's nap. But we would have. We would check the kids in, and Andy and I would sit in the cafe at the gym for an hour and have some just time together, and then we'd go work out and stuff. And so that was something we did consistently. And Andy and I, for our time, we've always tried the same thing with, like what Elizabeth said. Our time is after the kids go to bed. We end up staying up super late, which is not good, but we're just preparing for the baby. So we end up, talking a lot and everything like that. But when we were able to kind of go out, we would find that with having multiple kids, sometimes it's really expensive. People try to do a date night every week or whatever. And when you have a lot of kids, that can get really expensive.
Yes.
And so we started probably 5 years ago. We started doing a coffee date once a week, and it was just an hour on our schedule. And we both work, so we just built it into our work schedule. And we go to a coffee shop and we just sit for an hour and just have a weekly time together where we just talked to each other about each other. And I felt like that was one of the greatest things because it was so consistent, because coffee wasn't that expensive. We already had childcare for the kids, and so I look forward to doing more and more of that. And I just saw my husband say, right now our date night is taking the trash out. Because the kids stay in the house and they are doing something, playing or watching TV, and we'll take like 5 to 10 minutes to take the trash out. And so that's our date night.
It is all about seasons. I mean, I remember like my me time when the boys were growing up, honestly, was in the shower. The only place my kids would not follow me was in the bathroom. And I would lock the door, and even if I wasn't in the shower, I'd turn the shower on because I'm like, Jesus, Alan.
You do that now.
I still have my me time if Jared or Grace or anyone's here, and I'm like, I just gotta go to the bathroom. I just gotta I need to give me some me time. I gotta get my thoughts, you know, right, and all that kind of stuff. And honestly, it doesn't have to be a long time, but there is a place where you go, and honestly, when I go visit the grandkids, my grandkids don't even follow me in the bathroom. They're be like, Grammy, are you okay? Oh yeah, I'm fine. I'll be out a little bit. Okay, you know, and I'm like, this is my space.
Yeah.
But even when the kids were little, Jared and I didn't have a ton of money, and so you know, and if you guys remember, we didn't like people watching our kids. I was a little weird about that, you know. You know, so we did everything together as a family, you know, and so when the boys would go to bed, we would make, you know, dinner or have a picnic on our living room floor because that's what we could afford. And then as our boys got older, they created the date night for us. They would make dinner, they would do different things like that, and because they got to be a part of, but they knew that it was important, and they'd go to bed and mom and dad would have our alone time. So I think that's so fun, and it's great to hear other people like what they do. And now Jared and I, you know, we get to have date nights anytime we want.
That's
I mean,
right.
but I'm not going to rub.
Living that best life.
Woo!
One day.
One day. Just a few years. Guys. Then you'll have your little grands running around.
Yeah, okay. Whoa.
Oh, sorry.
Just a few years, a few decades. Just a few decades.
And you're like, a few years.
Oh my gosh. So I have another question. Just getting all from you guys that we can. Leadership lessons. What are some leadership lessons in whatever perspective, wherever you want to go from, whether it's being, because you guys are like forefront leading as women and doing things that you guys do, and you know, you guys have a lot of influence and a lot of favor, and you're gifted in so many areas. What are some, like if you could tell yourself 10, 15 years ago a good leadership lesson to take with you, what would you want to pass on to someone else?
Good question. Leadership lesson. I would say if I was going to tell myself 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I would really encourage myself to be content with who you are in Christ, and I feel like I was very strong. Yeah. I mean, you've known me for 15 years, so I feel like I was very strong in who I was, but I do feel like at times I also, you know, really I didn't feel strong enough to, if I really didn't like something, to be like, no, you know, I don't want to do that, or I don't want to go along with that. And I think that developing more of my own, you know, convictions and my own standards and my own, that would come from a depth in my relationship with God. And I'm not saying that I didn't have that, but I think I would have encouraged that more. Because now that I'm a little bit older and have had more experiences, I'm learning that you know, I did a lot of things out of obligation. I feel like, and not that they were bad things. It was just like I kind of just went with, you know, like what everyone else was doing, even if I didn't necessarily like, this isn't me.
Yeah.
And I think my husband really has taught me that, being with Andy for the last, you know, 10 years, he is so much. If it's not Andy, he just doesn't do it.
Yeah.
Like, and so I think that I've learned that from him a lot, of just becoming confident and comfortable in this is who I am, this is who God has made me to be, and feeling confident to be that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I feel like even, taking it a step further is you had a voice before, but now you have a confident voice. Does that make sense? Like because you would, I think with close people you would share things, but now you're one that needs to speak up, and you are a leading voice. There's a lot of people that look to you, and I think there's been a time where, some of our voices, I would say women and, at different ethnicities have been silenced or not in the forefront, where that is actually changing. And really, I love the fact that, Andy's given you the confidence and really giving you a boldness and a courage sometimes to say what needs to be said in the situation. I think that's important.
Yeah, 100%.
No, that's good. What about you, Elizabeth?
I would say, if I was speaking back to myself 10 years ago, in regards to leadership, I mean, even just having people, I think about 10 years ago in youth ministry, and I don't know if maybe over time you become more sensitive. I feel like we're maybe more aware of people's feelings. I think maybe I've noticed that in myself as I've gotten older, where things that would have never even come on my radar, now I'm like, oh, I wonder how that person's feeling, or I just feel like I'm more in tune maybe to my feelings and what other people are feeling. I think I would have told myself to, in regards to leading other people, to like check in on other people and to invest into them, like into caring. I mean, genuinely caring about people that you're overseeing, or at the time it was like youth ministry, right? So just the leaders who were high school students or just out of college, but really checking in and investing in, like, how are they doing and what do they need from me, or what can I give to them? How can I best support them? I wish I could say I was maybe more focused on that at the time, and I realize now, just at my age, that how much it means to me when someone messages me. And Angie and Jared have always actually been really good at this. Like a very small amount of people I can count on one hand probably who've been consistent my entire life as far as like, how are you guys doing? Or just a random, just letting you know I'm praying for you. Speaks so much to people that you're leading, and helps them realize they actually care about me, and I'm not just a person who's serving. I'm not just like a tool because we need helpers, or we need support, but that you actually care about them. I would say that, yeah. And like I said, you guys have always been really, really good at that. And it's encouraged me and inspired me as I've gotten older. I realized how important that was to do even in my own life. I mean, now, even with kids, it's like checking in on my kids. Like, how are you doing? And like Tiff said before, sometimes we're doing things for the kids, but just like, instead of just doing, like, how are you as a person? Like, what are you feeling? What's your heart? How's your heart doing?
I think that is so good, and those are such important things. I'd say for me, if I was to tell myself, give myself leadership advice, the opinions of others really don't make that big of a difference. I think for me, in my younger years and even in ministry and being a woman, I felt like I allowed people to tell me who I was going to be. And it was okay to be that as long as I fit their mold and not be who I am, my personality, my giftings, and being okay with that. And disagreement doesn't mean I don't love you. Disagreement means I don't agree with everything that Jared has to say all the time. Because I see things from a different experience, a different point of view, and I can disagree and still love you. And I would be almost paralyzed if someone felt like I disagreed with them, especially someone that I looked up to and was a mentor to me, because I never wanted my relationship to be severed in that regard. And so I think sometimes it paralyzed me. But if I was to tell myself, 10, 15 years ago, it doesn't really matter as much what people think. If I know what God thinks of me, and I know who I am in Christ, and those that know me well and they speak into my life. And I'm not saying don't have people that speak into your life, because I think that's important, but I think the right people speaking into your life that see you from a 360-degree angle, not just one perspective or one moment in time, I think speaks volumes. You know, there's probably a handful of people that I would say, if they came to me and said something, Jared would be one, you guys and Fatua and Andy and my boys would probably be the ones that said, you know, Mom or Ange, you know, this is, I think this is, are you okay? This is what I see. I would be like, oh my gosh. But if someone else that I don't have a relationship with comes and says that, it's going to be a different story. Does that make sense? Now I'm going to go to people that I trust.
Because for me, I kind of grew up, I moved around a lot as a kid, and so I never really was someone who got really attached to people and bonded. And so I think over the years, really being connected to you guys, you know, you and Jared, Fatu and Elizabeth, and, you know, really having this tight bond. We've stayed in contact over the years, and now we're all back in the same area, which is just, that was one of the reasons why we wanted to move back here, was to be close to family and friends that are family. And so I think, you know, having what you're talking about, but that takes intentionality too, to keep those relationships strong and going, because I feel like the older I get, the more I realize, you know, as you advance on in years, those relationships are, you know, few and far between as you get older. And so making sure to cultivate and value those relationships that you're talking about and keep them thriving in your life, I think is important too.
No, I think that's really good. And it is 1:15, so I don't want to keep everyone. But I do have a selfish question, because we are starting Snack Time with Canvas Kids on Wednesdays. So we're going to do 15-minute segments every Wednesday to give parents a break, where they can log the kids onto Facebook and they can just participate. I'll be on there, they can participate. We'll be chatting and doing stuff with the kids. So snack time, what is a good snack time? Because I haven't had young ones in a long time. And what are your favorite snacks to prepare?
Wait, like the time of day?
Time of day. So what is a good snack time for kids?
For us, our snack time is probably around 2:30, 3 o'clock.
Okay.
And well, I mean, my kids snack all day long. So if we were putting together like an afternoon snack, it would be like around that time.
Okay.
And my snacks are, I put out a tray for my kids, and it's
I
normally,
see your pictures.
Yeah, so it's normally fruits, vegetables, and then some kind of, I tried really hard to have my kids eat raw foods, and so like fruits and vegetables, and then, you know, like some type of cracker that they like, or a bar or something like that. That's what my kids love.
Awesome, that's awesome. What about you, Elizabeth?
I think snack time in the morning, yeah, I agree with Tiff. I think there's probably like morning and afternoon snacks. So maybe like 11 in the morning, 10 or 11 in the morning is when which is like they probably ate breakfast at 9 and they're already ready for snack time. But that's not when they have snack. And then probably in the afternoon, yeah, I would say like 2 or 3 is normally when they're like hungry again after lunch.
Okay.
And snacks, I feel like I like snacks that they can get themselves. So like fruit, because they can just pick it up and wash it and eat it. And then I try my best to balance, like if it's the sugar, like fruit or something with some sort of protein. So like nuts, like fruit and nuts, or fruit and I don't know, like beef jerky or something like that. Just something to balance it out, so they're not extra off the walls.
No, it's so good. Thank you guys so much for joining. I mean, I feel like that there's so much we could talk about, and I know we're going to do a follow-up with Pierce on finances, and then with Andy in regards to more fitness and faith, because there's so much stuff going on. But I also feel like we could do a follow-up on, and just pick one of the topics, like, you know, leadership and women and functionality and how we function in that, and how we can lead in those things. And so I'd love to schedule time where we can get back together. Hopefully, you know,
Yes.
babe,
Yeah.
after baby comes, yeah. That'd be good. But thank you guys so much for joining with me. Thank you guys for joining with us, and we will see you next time. Have a great day.
Just ended it just like that. I have to get up, Ange. Yeah. Yes, dear. Bye, everyone.